Hello, tributes, and welcome to week 2 of Catching Up on Catching Fire, a Goodreads digital reading club. Hosting this week's discussion are two of your favorite Hunger Games fan sites, Mockingjay.net and Welcome to District 12. From Mockingjay.net, we have myself, Crystal Watanabe, in Honolulu. We have Kira in Ireland. Say hi, Kira.
Hello.
We have Carla in Germany.
Hi.
And we are joined by our really good friends at Welcome to District 12, who some of us met at Comic-Con this past July. From their site, we have Courtney.
Hello.
And Tiffany.
Hello.
So, for today's discussion, we will be going over a series of 7 questions covering chapters 7 through 11 in Catching Fire, the second book in the Hunger Games trilogy. So, who wants to start off? What's our first question?
I'll start off. This is Courtney. Question
or Wanda.
1. Yes, my name is Wanda. Why do you think Gale refuses Katniss's offer to try and escape into the wild?
Well, I mean, in the book, it was because, I mean, he was open to it, right, at first, and until he heard that she had seen some kind of dissension in another district, right?
Well, he kind of like freaks out when she mentions that Peeta and Haymitch are coming along. So, I don't know, I feel like he's got some serious anger, jealousy issues going on. Because, I don't know, I kind of see like him thinking that they're running away together, and the moment that Peeta and Haymitch are coming along, he's like, oh no, and gets all mad.
Yeah, that was kind of a selfish moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he has those.
I think he sort of felt that things were getting back to normal. Like it was the way before it was in the games where they could have run off and been happy together, but now Peeta and Haymitch are in the mix, things aren't the same anymore.
It's so funny because, I mean, when she first suggested, he's so, like, overjoyed, right? He's like, yeah, let's go right now.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with what we just said, that he felt it was going back because they had made these plans before. Like, before the games, they had talked about running off together to the forest. And, you know, obviously they would have to take their family, so he had already thought about that before. But then when Pete and Haymitch are included, it's like, wow, this is way bigger than even we can handle. So, I mean, yeah, I think there was a little bit of, you know, that whole you would save Peeta too thing. But on the other hand, he also had a point that it was, you know, it's a lot of people to take care of in the forest. So, you know, that's what he points to.
Yeah. And then she mentions District 8, and then he's like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that was the clincher. He wasn't going anywhere after he knew that there was rebellion in the other districts. So.
Well, I think the other thing, too, that probably contributed to his attitude after she mentions that is that he had just confessed to her that he loves her, right? And she didn't say it back.
She pulled a Han Solo.
Like yes, I was
yes.
just gonna
Yeah,
I know.
Solo moment.
But at the same time, doesn't really check with her either to see like if she's feeling the same way since they kissed. Like they don't mention it, and then I don't know. I feel like he assumes she feels the same way, and then he kind of gets mad when it's not kind of up to his level.
Yeah, it's like a rebuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, is that excusable, or does that just? I mean, it's tough to deal with that kind of rejection, right? So I don't know. I'm a little torn.
Yeah, it's all confusing for him too. I mean, he also had to he's probably mad he didn't act on his feelings, and then he's even more mad after he has to watch Katniss and Peeta all the time. He's kind of forced to watch it, so I mean that could make someone mad, but still, I think it just takes time for him to work out his feelings.
I agree. I mean, Katniss's response wasn't really the best either, honestly. I mean, I know it worked for Han Solo and everything, but, you know, when someone tells you they love you and you just go, I know, it sounds
burn.
worse than it really is, really. I mean,
it cuts.
Well, as Katniss says herself, it sounds terrible.
Yeah.
She says in the book.
Yeah, definitely. And then she tells him that he knows what he is to her. Like, what is that even supposed to mean?
Yeah. Well, she is like, I can't blame her for being so super confused as to what she feels towards Peeta or Gale, because it's like, he kisses her.
Well, she has other things to worry about, is the thing, right? I mean,
yes, it's like, oh, I have to decide now? Oh.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, she probably wasn't thinking about that stuff at all. Like, she didn't have enough headspace to think about that. But, she could have phrased it better. It's just the words that bother me, not the feelings necessarily. And I guess that could have bothered Gale too. I don't know.
I feel bad for her because, I mean, she's so set in her ways that she just decides, right, that she just doesn't want to have kids. She doesn't want to be with anyone like that and risk having kids. So it's like she's made this life choice and he's like still trying to push it on her kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to point out like how not a good idea running away is, considering the conversation she had with Snow. It's like, you don't think they would like not do everything to find her if she mysteriously disappeared?
Yes, definitely.
And I don't even understand how they would have done it. I mean, they're obviously monitoring everything they do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the best idea to run off at the point where, security is increased. They could have done it before, maybe, but, right now you have all those peacekeepers in there, like, they're looking at her.
Yeah, so they would stop at nothing to track her down, and it's a silly thought.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's just now kind of coming to terms with the fact of, like, how things have changed.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's like, how could you stay?
Yeah.
Life is, oh god, rock in a hard place, Katniss. Yeah. But I think it's definitely more the uprising in the districts that makes Gale stay. That's why he refuses Katniss. It's definitely... He wants to change things.
He wants to be part of the change, really.
Yeah. Take the opportunity.
Yep.
So this is also the part of the book where Gale throws the gloves that he had given, Cinna's gloves that she had given to him. He throws it back in her face and tells her he doesn't want anything from the capital. And I mean that was harsh, right? Because
super harsh.
Because he's hinting that she's a product that he doesn't want either. So it's kind of like he's being even more like cruel about, I don't know, in response to being rebuffed, I guess, and in general, I don't know.
Well, the way I saw it, it was him telling her that she sold out, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
not that there was anything she could do about it anyways.
Yeah, of course.
So, do you think, though, that her not saying that she loves him too makes this a crucial turning point for Gale's character in general? Because, I mean, he was all for running away and just being with her, and then when he realizes that that's not part of her life plan, suddenly he becomes all about rebellion and stirring things up, and he'd never go in a million years and things like that. I mean, is this a crucial point in Gale Hawthorne?
That's a good question. It might be, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Because we could presume up until this point he still thinks that Katniss will come back to him. Especially whenever she says we should run off. He possibly thinks at that moment that that's her rejecting the capital and Peeta and this whole life that's been set up for her.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of criticism of Gale for the harsh things that he does in Mockingjay and stuff like that, but would he have done these things had she said, I love you too?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know. I mean, the way I see him, at least, I think he would more be the type to, like, still go to war even when he has someone waiting for him. Because he thinks it's the right thing to do. I mean, I don't think he did everything he did as a reaction to Katniss's rejection. I think he truly believed he was doing the right thing. I mean, obviously we can see that some of the stuff he did wasn't right necessarily, but he thought he was doing the right thing. So I think even if he and Katniss had gotten together at this point, he probably would have still gone to the capital and gone to fight.
Okay, there's a... Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
No, I was just saying there is a real deep-seated hatred for the capital there, so...
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, and, like, I think overall his anger, you know, just him dealing with the fact that she doesn't feel the same way or she doesn't know, and dealing with the fact of not, like, telling her that how he felt before the games, like, that happened. So I think that kind of is always, like, on his mind, and it's always sort of, his emotions are mixed in with his decision making sometimes, just because he gets so, there's so much for him to be angry over, and I think it's hard for him to deal with all that.
All right, so after their fight, Katniss goes back, she finds Peeta, and she asks him, oh, will you run away with me since, you know, my best friend just told me no? And he says he'll go, and then they walk to the square, and that's where they find the whipping. And I guess that moves us into Chapter 8, right?
Yes.
Question 2.
So, question 2. Somebody want to
2.
go for question 2?
I'll go, I guess. Question 2. How do you think Gale's whipping changes things for Katniss? Well, I think it changes a lot of things for Katniss, honestly. Like, before she was still, like, we just saw that she was still in the frame of mind that she would never be able to return Gale's feelings, kind of. And I think the whipping, at least in that aspect, it definitely brought the protectiveness in her that she really truly did care for Gale, and it's the point where you see that she actually does have feelings for him too, you know. So I think it changes a lot of things.
I think seeing the horror of the Capitol's justice, like, firsthand, and for someone that she loves deeply, is really jarring to her, and that kind of makes her realize that things do need to change. And you know, whatever feeling she has for Gale, like, they have, like, an unbreakable bond, and whether that's love or whatever, she knows she has some feelings for him, but all that comes out when his safety is in jeopardy.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's one thing to be threatened by President Snow, but then to see it actually happening
Yes.
before your eyes, it's totally different, right? I mean, I'm sure for her, it was completely different to hear about the games and then experience the games. So, I mean, in the same way, I mean, it just, I don't know, not really turning on a light switch, but changes everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the moment where things really start to it gets real for her. Like, he got whipped for carrying a dead turkey, which is, she's used to hunting and, you know, walking around with all her game, and this is something he gets severely punished for. So it's where you see the whole shifting with the difference between what it was for District 12 before her games and what it is now, and what it has been for other districts that weren't ignored by the Capitol.
Yeah, I think for the most part, she always took that whole hunting being illegal thing as you know, something very abstract, because I mean she did it every day, and she wasn't stupid about it. She wasn't going up to a peacekeeper's door she knew would punish her or something, but it was rather abstract. I guess probably after the games she thought that, you know, being back in 12 there was a safety in that. It's like, okay, I'm out of immediate danger, kind of. She still had Snow's threats on her, but he was far away. And then seeing Gale get punished for something that she used to do every day, it's really gotta bring things home for her. Like, okay, they can really kill me at any point, and any of the people I love. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and the other thing too is this is the point when the people of District 12 realize that even the Capitol's own peacekeepers are vulnerable, right? Because Darius steps in and he gets knocked unconscious, and then they never see him again until Mockingjay, right?
Yep.
So I mean that had to have changed a lot too, because I'm sure they looked at them, even though they were friends, as some kind of level of authority in District 12. And then to see that, I mean, it just kind of puts into perspective that, you know, even their own District 12 peacekeepers are considered part of District 12. And I don't know.
Isn't Darius the one that they turn into an AVOX?
Yeah.
That's so messed up.
Yeah, we don't really hear from him until like PETA mentions him, right? So
yeah,
that was brutal.
Yeah.
So this is also, in terms of character development, this is a really interesting part of the book for Mrs. Everdeen in particular, because so far we've really seen her just be like a kind of like someone that has to be supported by Katniss instead of being the mother. And here in this situation when she has to heal Gale, Katniss just is in awe of her, right? She can't believe that this is her mother that is stepping up to the plate and just doing what needs to be done, and this is where she really excels, right?
Totally, yeah.
It's interesting that she's... I mean, it's a good moment not just for Katniss seeing her mother like this, but just for us, because all we know of her so far is that she broke down when her husband died. And then you have her here in this critical situation with someone who can just die any minute, and she's so level-headed. It's awesome to me. Because, you know, you have Katniss freaking out and yelling at her to give him the medicine, and then the woman's like, no, I know what I'm doing, just let me work.
And she kicks incredible. Her out, right? Yeah. She's like, get her out of here.
We're so used to seeing Katniss in control, so it's a really good like contrast to see her freaking out and Mrs. Everdeen being the calm one.
There's one part I really like about this whole, you know, Mrs. Everdeen treating Gale thing, because it's like we haven't even gotten over the whipping yet, and then there's more tragedy they're throwing at us. Like, there's a part in here where Katniss, I think Mrs. Everdeen says to put snow on him, and then Katniss goes on his back, and Katniss goes, well, what do you do in the summer?
Oh, you know? Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
she's like, we're lucky this happened in the winter, and I'm like, holy crap, it's really really bad. Yeah.
Ooh, nasty.
Okay, so the question was how it changes things. So Katniss actually asks this question of herself. She says, why did it take him being whipped within an inch of his life for me to see it? And I guess she's talking about...
That was her feelings for Gale, wasn't it? It's Gale is mine, I am his. Anything else is unthinkable.
Yeah.
It's right after that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so she says, because I'm selfish, I'm a coward, I'm the kind of girl who, when she might actually be of use, would run away to stay alive and leave those who couldn't follow to suffer and die. This is the girl Gale met in the woods today. And that brings us to question 3, which is, she says, no wonder I won the games. No decent person ever does. And so the question, question 3 is she being too hard on herself?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
I agree too.
I think we can all agree.
I think she was just scared when she wanted to run away. And, you know, she mentions that she saved PETA, but she senses that she has like a selfish motive for that. But she still cared about him enough, you know, to save him. And she's grown up as a survivalist, and everything she has done, she's done to protect her family. Therefore, I don't think, you know, she's being way too hard on herself.
Yeah, I mean, part of being a survivor is being selfish, right? Because you're preserving yourself. That's what survival is, right?
Yeah. But she's still doing it for her sister, you know, and her family. So I still think it's out of a place of unselfishness, even though, I don't know, I think she's incorrect about herself. But
I think, honestly, I've thought about it a lot since I read the books, and I think it's not even about being a survivalist. It's just about being human. Because, you know, you have, like, fight or flight, and when the fight is this big, I mean, you're one person against the whole country, basically. And, you know, what are you going to do? Everybody in their right mind would be, you know, get the heck out of here.
Well,
that's what I think.
Katniss is 16 years old.
Yes, exactly.
I think people forget that sometimes.
I mean, I would probably try to get away as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So I don't blame her. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that she puts, I mean, you wouldn't think of it, but she does put people in a pedestal a lot. Like she has Prim as this paragon of goodness, and she's doing the same with Peeta. And, you know, just because some people are so good that they would react differently to, like, 95% of the population, that doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah.
But she doesn't see that. And I think it has a lot to do with, you know, growing up with Prim and then being in the games with Peeta, stuff like that. But it's certainly I've never thought of it as selfish. I just think she's being a normal human being. And she's scared, so she's going to run away from whatever's threatening her. It's natural.
Right.
So this chapter actually ends with one of my favorite quotes from this book, which is, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay right here and cause all kinds of trouble." I love that line because, you know, it's just it's very Katniss, you know. I mean, she's always like starting things. I mean, she's the one that fired at the apple at the or fired her arrow at the game makers, and I don't know, I mean, she's just a troublemaker, right? So it felt very in character for me to read her saying that.
I agree.
So question 4 is actually still talking about this topic. So Kira, you want to read question 4?
Okay. What do you think is the biggest factor that helps Katniss realize that fighting the Capitol is more important than running away?
I would say, in the book, she says, she uses the words, all my resolve disintegrates the minute she thinks about Prim and protecting her. So I think that's ultimately about protecting her and protecting the kids, like Rue's sisters and Gale's siblings. And I think that's like the ultimate factor that gets her to fight for them.
Yeah, she also thinks back to Rue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think there was some sort of element of her realizing her status as a victor. When they were trying to protect Gale, it was her, Haymitch, and Peeta standing up for him and, you know, trying to get threaded back down. And she realizes if it was going to be anyone, it would be them. So she kind of realizes that she has power.
Yeah, it's the thing about the berries. I thought was very, you know, she thinks back to the berries at the end of chapter 8, and she realizes that what she told President Snow at the beginning of the book, that, you know, if a handful of berries can bring a country down, then it's gotta be one heck of a handful of berries, you know. And she realizes that she can either spend the rest of her life running, or she can put an end to it somehow. And I think that, you know, not wanting to put her loved ones through the whole running thing is something that motivates her at that point too.
Yeah, there's that point where she says you have to turn around and face whoever wants you dead.
Yep.
Oh.
That's a really good line.
Yeah.
That's probably one that's like quoted really, really often.
It is on Tumblr, I know.
What do people on Tumblr, what are they referencing that to in their own lives? I doubt any of them have their lives risked on a daily basis.
You know, annoying bosses, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's more her symbol as not just a victor, but that victor who had the berries and Peeta living too, that she can do so much more, that she can help a great deal if she stays and fights.
So she actually goes to Haymitch and says, "I want to start an uprising," and he laughs at her, which I thought it's a funny scene in my head. I don't know how it works for you guys, but I mean, I've always found that kind of amusing. I mean, it's very Haymitch of him.
Every scene with Haymitch.
Yeah.
In that scene, he's like, he like mimics her, and I just imagine him going, "Cat."
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's like, and it's such a serious moment. It's awesome.
Haymitch.
There's also a lot to read there about Haymitch, because we know, spoiler alert, that he knows a lot more than he's letting on at that point.
Yeah.
But then, at what point does Haymitch actually start rebelling or planning a rebellion?
I would imagine maybe the minute that, the Quarter Quell is announced, because then that means all of them are, in jeopardy of dying needlessly.
So at this point, we can assume that he has no intention of doing anything.
Or maybe even before. Maybe it's the moment the berries come out and he's like, okay, things are going to start to go down.
So this is totally off topic, but this is actually a part that has something that I always found really interesting. It's such a small detail, but at one point Katniss says, "You don't even have a phone." And Haymitch says, Effie had that fixed. And I don't know about you guys, but I pictured like a hardline phone. And I just, like, when I read that, I was like, how come they don't have cell phones in Panem?
Oh my god.
I would assume that people with money do.
Like, can't you imagine Effie just on her phone texting people walking through the Capitol?
She's playing Candy Crush.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think the Capitol would allow it, because it's like phones that are plugged into your wall are easier to tap, and so it would give too much freedom if people had cell phones.
That's a really good
true.
point.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe
Plus,
too much
who
open
knows, in the
communication.
apocalypse, maybe you don't get reception anymore.
Yeah, cell phone towers.
Yeah.
We don't want those rebels starting a rebellion with text messaging. Snapchatting each other.
Playing getting ideas.
And no Candy Crush. Oh.
It's Capital Candy Crush.
Sure, we'll see that
Such a capital
anyway.
That needs to happen now. Capital Candy Crush.
That would be a terrifying game.
I know, really.
Bright colors. And...
Would this be a good time to mention I have no idea what Candy Crush is?
Oh my goodness, what? I resisted playing Candy Crush for so long. Then I started playing. It was my worst decision ever.
It's like Bejeweled, but with candies.
But candy. I think you can play it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah, don't.
Oh, I think Carla is gone.
Oh, really?
She's gone. She left us. Sorry, I watched Jurassic Park.
There she is.
Is that a Jurassic Park reference?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
He left us. You gotta go.
I'm back.
You gotta go.
Yay, welcome back.
Yay! Hello, Carla.
I hope that whole conversation makes it on.
So, we are approaching a sore spot for movie fans because after all of this, Katniss goes out into the woods and she meets Bonnie and Twill, who are cut from the movie. But since we're discussing the book, we can totally talk our heads off about Bonnie and Twill. So I actually, for fictional food, I actually made or tried to make those crackers, although I made cookies because I couldn't figure out how to stamp it into bread. I don't know how these people did it in District. What district is Bonnie and Twill from?
8.
Yeah, they must have some kind of bread stamping technology.
Well, they do that today, don't they?
Do they? Oh, yeah, you're right, I guess. Yeah, I don't have the ability
I distinctly remember seeing, like, toasters with the baseball team's logos and stuff that you can, like, burn onto toast. Yeah.
They must make the cracker and then burn it on, or, like, put some kind of, like, food coloring or something. I don't know.
I always assumed they just burned it on, like, with a brand or something.
Yeah, some kind of brand.
Because it would have to be kind of a primitive way to do it, right?
Yeah.
For it to...
Yeah, they can't really have the machine
Yeah.
in a place where it can be found.
They only make clothes over there, so...
Yeah.
Alright, so she meets Bonnie and Twill in the woods, which brings us to question 5. Tiffany, you want to read that one?
Sure. What does meeting with Bonnie and Twill in the forest mean for Katniss?
She has no idea, like, that she is a symbol.
Yeah.
She's, like, so confused.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's weird because people in this book just hide so much from Katniss, right? I mean, I feel like part of that is just a writing method for Suzanne Collins, because you need to have the suspense, and if you reveal too much, then that interrupts the pace of the novel, right?
That is an excellent point.
But yeah, so, I mean, does it go a little too far that she knows nothing about what she symbolizes at this point? I mean...
No, I don't think so, because, you know, there's no, like, communication between the districts, you know? It's just...
How would she know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think in this case, it's another one of those things where things are abstract to her until she sees them with her own eyes. So, you know, she had heard, like, she got threatened by President Snow for the berries thing. So she knows at some point it could be a possibility that people would see that and think, okay, maybe, you know, there's something more to it and we can start a rebellion. But then she sees that District 8 is rebelling. She sees it on the mayor's TV. So she has an idea of what's happening out there, but she doesn't really know how real it is until she meets Bonnie and Twill in the forest. Like, that's when she actually sees, okay, this is happening. It's out there, you know?
Well, the other thing, too, is, like, this is the first time she learns that there's a District 13, or that it's possible that there's a District 13, right? Because for her, she just believes what she sees on TV, that District 13 is just rubble and no one survived and stuff like that, so...
Yes.
I love that for the whole Bonnie and Twill chapter. I love that, you know, those seeds are being planted now, and when she, like, sees it on TV for herself, and she's like, you know, what's over there? If they're doing this looped image, which is so cool.
Yeah, because, I mean, that changes so much for her, right? Because she just assumed that there's no resistance other than herself, right? And it must make her feel like she's not alone in, like, wanting to rebel, so...
But at the same time, then she's all mad because they've done nothing.
Yeah.
Little does she know.
I think it's really cool that the whole District 13 thing comes up now, and you see Katniss go, oh, this has got to be, you know, you're kidding. It can't be right. We see her go that way and just dismiss it, kind of. But we as readers, because we know how these things work, we're like, okay, that's got to be important. Yeah. So I like it for that reason.
Yeah, she constantly thinks it's a delusion until she sees it on the TV, and then she's like, "Oh, a Mockingjay."
Okay. I don't know if this is like off Bonnie and Twill subject or not. I mean, it's technically in this chapter, but I really love how they introduced the plant book in this chapter, and how Katniss and Pete are like spending time for the first time that's not like tainted by the games. It's just, I really love the plant book. I am a fan of it. And what it becomes in the end of the series is heartbreaking but beautiful.
Yeah, I really like it too, because I'm not a big, massive Peeta fan. No, I do love Peeta, but you know,
how dare
I'm not.
You're signing your own death warrant right now.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I started speaking, I was like, "Oh, do I really want this target on my head?" But no, what I mean is with the Hunger Games, I was never a big shipper. It didn't really matter to me. I always thought she would end up with Peeta because he seemed more, you know, right. And I'm being very careful here. But, like, you know, I usually breezed past any kind of, like, shippery moment between the two. But I did love the book. And I loved those little moments of them working together on that. And her kind of looking at him. I liked those little moments. Those were very, very nice and touching.
Eyelashes. That's what
yes.
obsess over, the eyelashes.
Because I think it seemed like the first time where they, as you said, like the first time they did something that was normal and didn't involve killing people or, you know, it was just a very nice pastime for them. It's a better hobby than maiming.
I would say any hobby is better than that.
Yeah.
They could knit or something, you know.
You're not wrong, though, about the whole, not really thinking about the shipping aspect. Because it's not.
Yeah. I think it was never really a big thing for Katniss. It was never really a big thing for me.
Which is, one of the coolest parts about this series is that it kind of takes a back seat. So I'm glad that you said that.
Thank you. That was the last nice thing that somebody said to me before thousands of teenagers started throwing things at me. She loves Gale, not Peter.
I am a big shipper, on the other hand. So I like those moments because, in the first book, it was so easy to see, it was, I don't know, the adrenaline or, the mutual fear of death or whatever that brought them together. But in this one, you actually see, they can do something normal and, be comfortable with each other. It really spoke to me at that level.
Yeah, plus he's so stable for Katniss. He's a very calming influence in this whole craziness. So.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
the rock, the steady rock that is Peter. See, I do like Peter.
He's a stale loaf of bread. I'm just kidding.
I think it's hilarious that we still think of him as a rock. He actually was a rock at one point.
I totally forgot about that.
He was literally a rock.
All right, so questions 6 and 7 are actually kind of broad. It's what questions do we have about chapter 7 through 11, and what are our favorite quotes and scenes, which we've kind of already been doing. So why don't we just, going forward, just go through the rest of chapter 10 and 11. I guess we can talk about our own favorite scenes. You want to just go through each of us and say what our favorite scenes are?
So yeah, one of my favorite scenes from the whole book actually is Katniss, and the fence, whenever the fence is live. Because it was one of those moments when I was reading it for the first time, I was like, oh, crap! it was just so shocking. And then the way she covers her mouth to stop the breath being, oh my god, fantastic. Yeah, and then she has to climb over and break her foot.
That's so
For
funny.
me, it was the scene after that. It's one of my favorite scenes of the entire trilogy, when she actually gets home and the peacekeepers are there waiting.
And she has to pretend that her leg is fine, yeah.
It's awesome because on the one hand, there's this tension underneath everything because you know that she's lying as best as she can to make it seem like she was not doing what she was doing. But on the other hand, you get this sense of almost camaraderie with her and Peeta and Haymitch and Prim and even their mom at some point. It's for me it's kind of a domesticity that we never get to see because the whole trilogy is so tense. It's like everything happening one thing after the other, but in this one it's like you can really see them maybe how they would have been if none of this had ever happened, kind of. I mean, if they had still, you know what I mean.
I mean, Peeta and Haymitch are sitting by the fire, right? That's the scene you're talking about.
Casually playing chess.
Yeah, and they're hitting her and
exactly.
insulting her and everything.
I just think it's so funny. It makes me laugh so much of how
The thing
fake
with the
the
goat,
whole setup is.
The thing with the goat, it just cracks me up every time. I love that part.
I think what I like is that you can just visualize when they leave. As soon as the door closes, she just collapses, and everybody it just changes like a flick of a light switch, right? I mean, everybody just moves and does something different, and it's just, I don't know. It's like what you said. It's that there's this undertone going on, and she has to just play along and have faith that everybody is doing what she thinks she's doing, and unspoken communication between them, and it just speaks to how good their relationship is, right? Even though
that they all know.
Yeah.
It's amazing. They all just follow her lead, and they know. It's great. All right, so that was me. Anyone else?
I guess for me, it's such a small one. It's one of those really subtle, small scenes that you don't really think about until later. It's when people quote this all the time too. It's when she's asked Peeta to stay with her until she falls asleep, and she's okay. I'll just read it. She says, As the tendrils of sleep syrup pull me down, I hear him whisper a word back, but I don't quite catch it. And I just thought that was so amazing because you don't get to know what that word is until Mockingjay, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She...
And I have to say it was like the perfect word as well.
Yeah.
By the way, almost every book or literature I read, the word always is always in it somewhere.
I know.
In a really crucial kind of always.
There are, you should see on Tumblr, Kira, there are actual fights about this.
Oh, really?
People saying like Harry Potter fans will say always is theirs, and then the Hunger Games people. But yeah, they claim it. It's funny, and then you have like the people who are fans of like The Fault in Our Stars, and they're like, oh, we have okay, so we're better than you do. It's awesome.
Okay, so is the Harry Potter always for Snape?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't like that one honestly, but yeah.
Oh, she doesn't like Snape.
I don't. I'm going to die next, I guess, but yeah, I don't.
Actually, if we're getting on the whole thing now, I'm not a big Snape fan.
Yeah.
I loved what he did for the series, but
I had faith
Still,
in
I
Snape.
do never like him.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
He's a jerk, exactly. You feel me? That's good.
Not to like divert, but like after the whole like Order of the Phoenix thing, he's still a gigantic jerk to him.
Yes.
He doesn't need to be.
Like, I get the whole he was in love with Lily and it can't be very nice.
But he doesn't have to take it out on Harry.
Yeah, I just think, like, when he gets to heaven, Lily's going to be like, dude, that was my son.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. It's so true.
But then, he did save his life and everything, so,
So, yeah.
Okay.
So, the always moment, a.k.a. the point where I will start crying in the theater if it happens.
You mean, like, the 12th point that you'll start crying?
Yeah, probably, actually. No, but it really is an emotional moment for me, especially now knowing that it comes back in Mockingjay.
I really hope it's in there as well.
I know.
Yeah.
That actually is one of my favorite, not this moment, but in Mockingjay, that I thought that was a wonderful moment between Peeta and Katniss. Because it really did seem at that point that he was completely lost. And it was like, oh, God, come on. How much can this girl take?
Yeah.
Bring Peeta back.
All right, Courtney, what is your favorite scene?
I would say the favorite scene is when she sees the District 13 footage, quote unquote, for herself. And she says the reporter is not in District 13 at all, which begs the question, what is? Ooh. I loved how that was worded. Yeah, and I did have a question when it asked, what questions do you have? The lake house, like, what was that? Like, why is that there? And I guess Katniss's dad mentioned that there used to be lots of buildings around there. I don't know. I was just speculating, like, why that house was there.
Yeah, doesn't he say something like the people used to come and play music or something there? Did I read that completely wrong?
They used to swim and fish, I think he says.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really, like, I don't know, maybe the district borders changed or something like that. But I just thought that was an interesting...
Well, I only know because I live way out in the country. In Ireland, you can't tell from my lovely accent. But there are loads of little houses like dotted around the countryside that are used by like farmers and fishermen, things that are, centuries old.
Do they ever describe the lake house? I mean, I've always pictured it being like made out of concrete and just being kind of basic.
Yeah, I also figured it had to be concrete to still be standing, I guess.
Yeah.
It is. I know that. And I think she mentions that, like, how big it is, but, like, it's super small. Like, I think she talks about the dimensions, possibly.
Yeah, she says it's one room.
Yeah.
With a window pane still intact.
Yeah, in a world where there are walls and, everyone has to be kept in, like, who built that? And why were there so many other buildings around it before, as Katniss's dad told her? Very strange.
Okay, Tiffany, favorite scene?
Tiffany!
Okay, so Haymitch and Peeta casually playing chess was my favorite scene. But I do have a question because it is mentioned in this part, kind of. Do you really think there was anything between Madge and Gale?
Oh, yes! Yes, I was waiting for that one.
I can't believe we almost did not talk about that. Talk about that
because that's the part where she gets jelly about it.
She must really love them strawberries.
Jealous. Everyone, Katniss, Peeta, and Gale, they're all jealous of something.
Yes.
I mean, they're teenagers, so, Sorry, continue to.
No, but
it's
that
a
was
good
my
point
question.
to make, though. It's a good point to make because a lot of people just think of Gale as this jealous person because he's obviously the most vocal about it, I guess. But people forget that Katniss and Peeta also have their moments, so it's a good thing to point out.
I think there's not really enough evidence there. It could go either way. Because it could just be she knows Gale and she's a friend of Katniss, so obviously she wants to help out because Katniss would be in pain. But, I mean, there could be something, but there's not enough evidence to suggest that there really is. Could go either way at this point, I think.
It's kind of like a awful thing for Haymitch to say, like, oh, she must have quite a taste for them. Like, super
like he's totally pushing her buttons, right?
But it's Haymitch. What were you expecting? He lives to make people uncomfortable. Honestly, I have like a mental list of things I would ask Suzanne Collins if I ever met her, and this is number one. Because I really want, I don't know, I really want there to have been something between them. I don't know why. I think it's just, I want Gale to have something not directly related to Katniss for once.
We know,
we know that
he's had other.
Yeah,
ladies.
he's had other.
Yeah, but they're all described as kind of like flings, I guess. But this is a girl that's risking her life on running through a blizzard to get him pain medicine. I mean,
that's a good point.
It's not even actual medicine, right? It's just for the pain.
Yeah, it's morphine.
It's not gonna.
Right?
Yeah.
Or is it morphine?
Morphling.
Yeah.
It is morphling.
Yeah, you're right, Carla. It is like a big ask to, and especially because we know that her mom needs them. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really know how she got them. Like, she could have asked her mom, or she could have just taken them. So it's interesting.
Doesn't she say that her mom offered it up and she was just delivering it?
You'd be surprised.
She said.
You would be surprised at the amount of people who think that's just what she said.
Well, she says they're my mother's. She said I could take them. Use them, please.
Mm.
Although I find it weird that she just runs away after that.
Yeah, see, that's
how's Gale? One quick question.
It's like on TV when you're watching people talk on the phone and then like both of them just stop talking and hang up. Like, do any of you ever do that? Just stop talking and hang up?
They never say bye.
3 minutes to go. Okay, bye, 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 bye. Cheer, bye, 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 bye. You still there? Okay, bye.
You didn't hang up.
It would kind of ruin the pace of 24 if that happened every time. Bye, 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 bye.
It is funny though, because not only did she just run back out into the blizzard, but nobody actually asked her to stay either. Because I would think like, hey, there's a blizzard,
I know.
You can just wait it out here, but no.
And then to add insult to injury, after she runs off, Haymitch says, "Crazy girl."
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would like to think there was something between them, just because it would make me happy. I don't know.
I think it's very, very plausible.
Yeah.
I mean, Katniss describes Gale as being the hot guy, right? So,
right.
I mean, I can see it being like even Madge likes Gale. I mean, I don't know if he just doesn't realize it, but I mean,
I just like the irony of it, because Gale is so against townies. And like he hates people from town, and here Madge is kind of like, she's the mayor's daughter. I mean, it's like, how do you get more towny than that? And them getting together or having something at least would be like the height of irony for me, and I like that.
So when do you think this happened? Just to play devil's advocate.
If you ask me, probably while Katniss was in the games. That would be poetic justice,
Yeah.
Because he's all sad, you know, and Madge is like, "What's wrong, Gale?" And then things happen.
Yeah.
Oh, Gale, what's wrong?
Go for it, Madge. Go for it, Madge. This is your opening.
On the other hand, he was also like really snarky to her at the beginning of the first book. So what if that was just to cover up the fact that there was something there? You never know.
Oh,
Hiding it from Katniss to preserve his chances with her.
This is turning out to be like Desperate Housewives.
Yeah. I have thought about this a lot. Like, is it obvious? Yeah.
Desperate Housewives of Panem.
That could totally be a show on Capital TV.
It would totally.
Effie would love it, I'm sure.
All right, shall we wrap up our discussion then? Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I was just wondering, considering Effie fixed his phone, maybe there's something going on with Haymitch and Effie.
Oh.
She fixed his phone so that they could have little talks.
It's gotta be love.
At night. Okay, no.
They Skype late at night.
Yeah.
You know, that's funny, because that was actually the point where I realized that Effie's more than just... Because before I used to just think, oh, she's the escort for the games. So, you know, when the games are not around, she's not around. But I guess if she fixes Haymitch's phone, she's probably around. Like, they can contact her. And I hadn't thought about that before, so that's good.
You know, it's kind of funny because, I mean, if you think about it, Katniss is a celebrity, and when you think about celebrities in today's age, celebrities have a manager and a publicist, and it's like Effie is her publicist and Haymitch is her manager.
Yeah.
Because, right, I mean, during these chapters, he talks about, like, smoothing over, like, postponing her photo shoot because of her swelling in her face because she got hit by a thread in the face. So, I mean, that just draws some really interesting parallels between Katniss and celebrities of today. I mean, you can just kind of imagine that when she goes places and, like, has TV appearances, that there's paparazzi just taking photos of her, just like there is, like, for real celebrities, right? I mean...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jennifer Lawrence keeps comparing her own, you know, life, her fame with Katniss's. So I guess it makes sense, you know.
Yeah, like, I think she mentioned that specifically, like, when she was doing Oscar season, because, like, she was just like, put the dress on! The hands up, being poked and prodded.
But with lower risks.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But I
Any
guess
final
that was
thoughts?
always in there.
I just like how we started writing fan fiction towards the end.
Yes. Well, that's what I do. That's what I do on a daily basis, so I'm not surprised.
All right, so I think that wraps up our discussion of chapters 7 through 11. Thank you for joining us for Catching Up with Catching Fire, week 2, and we hope you enjoyed listening to us talk and fantasize and giggle and everything. So this is Mockingjay.net, and welcome to District 12, signing off. Bye, everybody.
Bye, 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 bye,
Bye.
bye, 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 bye.